obviously you don't really know me at all, so I thought I'd just spend 30 seconds just introducing myself to give you a bit of context. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. So for the last 10 years, I've been a yoga teacher teaching in London and internationally. And during that time, I qualified as a sports massage therapist. So I'm used to holding space and predominantly for women. And before that, I was working full time in the city of London, having done a degree in mathematics. So I'm quite analytically minded as well. And the last 5 years, I've been studying tantric philosophy and therapeutic practices, and putting all of that together to, with my partner, um, offer a relating consultancy through our brand Sex.Prayers, where we work with singles needing to understand the foundations to create a healthy relationship, and work with people in partnership to iron out any of the kinks. That
Yeah, I
all
love it.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
beautiful.
so this project came about because I noticed a lot of people in my friend circle and in the communities I was in and online, and my partner as well, express the challenge that women have experienced around feeling safe with men.
Hmm.
And I wanted to explore that and understand women's perspective better.
Yeah.
Having grown up as in a male body and as a man, I realized that my experience is very different. And this isn't just an education piece for me, but as a way to encourage more harmony between men and women, because I've noticed, and I'm sure you have too, there's a lot of disharmony going
Yes.
on. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I relate to that a lot. So I actually started as a just overall health coach where I would deal with anything, diet, didn't matter, like
Mm,
emotional aspects. And then throughout my experience, I noticed that there was way more need for coaching or just even just an open ear for
mm,
women that have experienced sexual trauma or
mhm,
like it's incredible to me. I do this every day and I still am so just blown away how many women don't know about their cycle. They don't know that they have
mhm,
phases. They don't know about like the energetics of their womb and how like generational trauma, like mother wound, father wound,
mm,
blockages, like they don't understand or even know that. A lot of women don't even know that they have like intuition or like inner wisdom. Um,
wow.
so I teach a lot of that, and through that, we kind of go through discovering femininity because a lot of women that have experienced sexual trauma completely close in and go
Sure.
into that masculine
Yeah.
space. And so they don't even really understand what femininity is or how to
Mm,
embody it. So we deal with
mm,
that, but also relationships. A lot of the girls that I see are in relationships. They started dating or even got married to their partner in the masculine space, and then they
right.
start
Yeah.
they start healing, and then they're like, okay, what do I do? Like
Yeah.
I met this person when I was completely different. Now I'm trying to
Sure.
like have a marriage with them. So we cover
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're doing that. And um that's probably what we're doing as well with Sex Prayers is the couples development, like being able to go on that journey in partnership, because it's not just about personal development for us, it's about being able to do it as a unit. I
Right.
love I love that you're doing that. And the thing that came up for me when you shared that was, if women don't even know this about themselves,
Yes.
and, and that's your lived experience, then the disconnect that guys have to that is chasmistic
Yeah,
compared.
absolutely.
So the intention of these conversations that I'm having is one, to hear from your experience. And I've been so wonderfully grateful to the women who have the 20 to 25 women now who've been kind enough to contribute their time and courageous enough to share their experiences around this topic of trust and safety. And I feel like it's only by having these conversations, or at least it's a big part, that it can bridge the gap.
Yes.
So thank you. And
Thank
I want,
you. Yeah.
yeah, I want to make explicit and known that my intention for this space isn't to therapize or to resolve anything. I'm simply here to be curious and to learn from your experience, anything that you want to share, and
Sure.
simply to just create a safe space for you to do that. And I trust that you feel safe right now with your
Yes.
earbuds and
Yeah.
your nice backed up and your fluffy
I'm
pillow
good.
behind
I'm
you.
ready.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, and one more thing is, so most of the conversations I've had private and confidential, and I'm having women express their desire for their conversations to be made public as a way
Yeah.
to encourage other women to contribute to the conversation and as a way to invite men into hearing women's perspective. So
Sure.
there's no need for you to make a decision on that right now. If you do want to have it remain private and confidential, totally fine. If you want to have it made public, then I can put that up on YouTube if it's recording. Um, and and that's completely up to you, and you don't have to decide now. The only thing I would say is if it's even a consideration or leaning towards yes, to just be mindful of any sensitive information you share, especially around particular individuals who you might want to maintain anonymity for, as that's happened in
Sure.
previous conversations.
Sure. Yeah. Uh, no, I'm completely comfortable with whatever you want to do with it. I
Mm.
am very open online and share. There's nothing I haven't shared about myself already, probably. So, it's in your hands.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your trust. Appreciate that. Okay, so I typically allow these to be quite organic in
Sure.
conversation, which I love, but I do have kind of a starter question to kind of get us going.
Go
Um,
for it.
and that question, Kylie, is what does safety mean to you?
Sure. Uh, if you asked me this a year ago, I
Oh,
probably wouldn't have known how to answer. But
amazing, amazing start to an answer. I love that.
yeah, so I'll just kind of say a little bit about how I found safety and understood
Mm,
what that was. And uh, so I wasn't living in California, and I did what everyone probably does in their 20s, where they want to get out of their hometown and they just want to live somewhere else and start over and run away from all their problems
mm,
and just be this new person. And so that is exactly what I did. I was dating who's now my husband at the time, and I was like, let's go together. We'll start our life. It will be fun. Great. So we go, and first year, amazing, probably a little delusional. Like we could just, ignore everything. I had not dealt with my sexual trauma. I had not dealt with my
mm,
family and generational trauma, nothing. Like,
mm,
just kept pushing that further down.
mm,
And so I ended up getting engaged and we started wedding planning. And I feel like at that time I started to heal unknowingly. So a lot was
oh,
coming up, and
wow.
I was starting to think and process a lot about my traumas. And I thought, oh, this is just like normal grieving. I'll just let it happen.
Mm.
We end up getting married, and now I'm a wife. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to be a wife. And I'm struggling with all this
They,
stuff.
they didn't teach you that at school?
No, actually. And I don't know how to cater to another person. I don't know how to
Mm,
like
yeah.
handle my emotions, handle his emotions, and like,
Uh-huh.
what am I doing? So, fast forward, I end up going into a spiral. I start having
Mm,
panic attacks, go into depression. I thought something was wrong, but it turns out I was initiating into a dark night of the soul. So I was in that dark night of the soul for about a year, and I processed everything. And I like to use the word fire because that's what was happening. I was literally burning myself to the ground
Mm.
and rebuilding her back up.
In
And
partnership.
in partnership, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And I think to answer your question about safety, I think all this stuff started to come out because I was finally safe. I was with a good
Oh,
man
wow. Okay.
I could process, and I didn't
Wow.
have to hide any of myself and my story and what had happened and the habits that I had picked up
Right.
and everything. He didn't look at me as a problem or a burden. He was like, I want to
Wow.
tackle this with you. And that was never said. It was just kind of an unspoken language where we had
Hmm.
this very mutual respect of we're in this forever, like we're in this for life.
Wow.
And
And that
since the
gave you the
beginning,
permission to like
yes,
let the mask slip.
yes. So I would say all of that happened unknowingly, but now that I look back at it, I realized that because he provided that safety, I was kind of able to fall apart where
Mm-hmm.
I had never been able to do that before. And because of
Wow.
that, I was able to rebuild with him
Wow.
also.
Wow. Wow. I love that. That's amazing. Firstly, like
Yeah.
amazing story and self-recognition and self-reflection to be able to understand and piece all of that together. And then celebrating finding someone who was willing to go on that journey with you because you became a completely, I imagine, when you say you're burning down to build back up, you're becoming a different version of yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and
Uh,
those things brought their own challenges too. It's like
sure.
they always say in your relationship or really anything that you fall in love with a different person like over and
Mm,
over again because you're always
hmm.
evolving. And
Sure.
that was kind of that first test for us where we fell in love as like young adults, and
Mm,
now we're kind of in like mid 20s, and now he had to kind of adjust to who I had become and
sure.
let go of certain things that weren't there anymore. So it's
Mm,
been interesting, but
yeah.
it's a like there's beauty in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you've both fallen in love with the essence of each other rather than the story of one another.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's lovely. I'm curious then, I think you alluded to it a little bit, but what is it that your husband was able to do or did that let you know you were safe?
Great question. So I had before I met him, I was totally victim of being stuck in my wounded masculine. For those that don't know, I have sexual trauma, so I was deathly like afraid of men, and I wanted to
Mm.
date men that I could control and that I
Ah,
wouldn't be hurt. So a lot of the men that I had dated were very feminine.
right.
And he was, I met my husband by chance. And at first, I didn't really, I liked him, but I was like, something is off about him. Like it just simply because he wasn't really anything I'd ever been with
Sure.
before. And
Unfamiliar.
I just couldn't not, even with that, I couldn't not be like attracted to him and wanted to be around him. So I
Mm.
decided, okay, I'll give him a chance. And really, what it was is he was the first like masculine man that I have dated. He's very, he has both. He's really good at balance. So
Mm.
he is blue collar, he's a hard worker, um, he's strong. He is very like he's very driven. So I was attracted to that where like I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't like going to have to um worry about anything, I guess is what I'm saying is like he had it all taken care of where I was usually filling that spot of like I planned things. I did this, I did that. I got it all taken care of, partly because I wanted to control that so I wouldn't get hurt.
Mm.
But he kind of wasn't letting me do that, and I was forced to kind of be like, okay, okay, like you got it, I guess. Like,
Okay.
and so he kind of really started to create a container for me uh,
Hmm.
that I didn't really know was there until I was like at rock bottom. And I really, it's because of that. It's because he was like just unapologetically himself and kind of like, um, yeah, like he didn't really, what's the word? Like he didn't let my behavior happen. He didn't really like when I would try to like control something or go into that like fight or flight, like, okay, like this is something I'm really uncomfortable with. He would kind of just like be like, it's you're good. Like you're fine. And I want you to know, like I want to do this for you. I can take care of that. You don't have to worry about that. And so
Hmm.
little by little I started to kind of let him take me out of my masculine space, I guess.
Right. Okay. So you slowly began to surrender uh, into receptivity and allow him to kind of lead more, and that
Yeah.
invited you to then inevitably drop into your femininity. It sounds
Yes. Yeah.
nice. Okay, I like that. So his masculine mm, leadership in being able to be able to be, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's going to something like accomplished, but just being capable. Being
Yeah.
capable.
It was like almost like a realization for me where if because I went through my whole life thinking like that's my role. I'm just a strong woman. I'm independent. I told myself all these things. And then when I suddenly wasn't that, I'm like, okay, well, what the heck is my role then? Like I got to
What did you
figure that out.
find? What did you find to be strong femininity?
I before I met my husband, and I still am those things. I still
Yeah, of
own a
course.
business. I'm still very driven. I'm still like Spitfire. Like a lot of those things don't change, but they're in a different essence than what they were.
Hmm.
Those before were things that I would do to protect myself. It was kind of like a facade where I would put on like guns of steel.
Mm.
Nobody can hurt me, so that I would believe that.
Mm.
Uh, my own delusion, I guess. But when those layers were peeled back and I found out how, excuse my French, bullshit that was, I started to realize how feminine I actually am and
Mm.
how much of myself was there that I didn't know was there, and how I actually really enjoy being sultry. And I found so much like romance in things that I thought was like mundane before, like food. And like food can be so sexy,
Yeah.
and music, and like my I noticed something really weird that happened when I went through the dark night of the soul, and kind of like that old person died and now I'm this
Uh-huh.
completely different woman. My music taste completely shifted from
Uh-huh.
like now I'm really into jazz and like sultry sounds,
Mm.
and like everything started to become really sexy and
Yeah.
life became more fun and joyful, and you don't
Mm.
know that that is all there until you discover and reconnect with those parts of yourself, and that's what I found through that.
Mm. It sounds like you found the feminine quality and essence of flirtatious sensuality for life.
Yeah, didn't know that was there,
Yeah.
but she's there.
I think a lot of us don't. I think we're obscured to it, conditioned away from it, and not invited to really reside in it and enjoy it and explore it because we get so consumed with the things we have to do.
100% agree.
Mm, okay. I'm curious then how, if at all, his femininity shows up. Because he
Sure.
sounds like an integrated fellow.
Yeah. He well, I see mostly masculine from him, if I'm being honest. But he is very in I would say in the home, not really outside of the home. In the home,
Mm,
he's very gentle and
mm,
he's very soft spoken,
mm,
and he's actually able to communicate his thoughts and
mm,
feelings without kind of that block or like shut down. He's very open and willing to have conversation and
mm,
um, understand his emotions. That's one thing that I really enjoy and noticed about him is like he understands how he's feeling and the emotions that he's experiencing and able to put them into words and express them. Um,
mm.
but it's not in a way, because I like to be careful with this, it's not in a way that is draining to me, where
Ooh.
he's like projecting and I'm starting to like carry the weight of it. It's not like that at all. It's very like tasteful and respectful of how much I can handle as a woman because I'm very sensitive to energy and
Mm,
still being in the space of healing. I'm still like rebuilding my tolerance and
mhm,
emotional load that I can carry. And so he's
mm.
very sensitive to like how much of himself that he's putting onto me. Um, and I really enjoy that.
Okay,
So I
so
guess his
he's
awareness.
discerning. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's discerning with sounds capable of being in control of his emotions and expressing them, but then also discerning with the level to which he um, shares that with you.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. And yeah, I get what you mean with the sensitivity to energy and to emotionality, especially working with people. It kind of feels like kind of um, compared to like emotional fighting. Or I used to study martial arts, and at the start, when people were like trying to punch me in the face, it dealt with my nervous system. But the more you
Yeah.
did it, the more you got used to it, the more controlled it became. And sometimes being in a relationship feels like emotionally being punched in the face, where it's like
Yes.
it's your nervous system going. Um,
Yes.
so how is that something that he's worked on, or he's just very fortunate in having ended up in that position?
Yeah. No, I would say it's something that it's worked on. He's always been very I don't even want to say sensitive, but kind of. Like he's always been he feel maybe like empathetic. He feels a lot for
Mm,
people. He feels
mm,
a lot for his family. Like he's very he's always been very intuitive, I guess.
mm,
And I would say neither of us at the beginning of our relationship were really good at communicating with each other about like because we were trying to almost like live separate lives with each other, and then we were like, oh right, we're a unit. And so
yes.
yeah. And then yeah, I would say as I was healing, I was a very independent healer. Like I did use him as a crutch when I was like
Mm,
when I needed to, but I wanted to do it myself and I had to do it myself, and I think through that he had a lot of time to like sit with himself and process like what was going on with me, what was going on with him, and learn new ways to communicate with me as I was learning new ways to communicate with him. And so
mm,
I think my healing kind of sent him into his own healing, forced him to
mm,
like heal as well. And then we started at the end of the dark night coming together and healing together and like practicing those tools that we learned, like different
mm,
ways of communicating and understanding each other. And so I would say he always was intuitive, but specifically learned how to put those thoughts and emotions and intuitions that he had into better ways of communicating.
Okay, so he was an active learner and
Yeah.
um, and wanting to integrate what he'd learned into embodied like expression.
Yes.
Okay, I like this. Um, I'm curious, is was there a learning curve for for all of this? Was it smooth or was it
No, not at
a
all.
challenge?
No, no, not at all. It was yeah, definitely a learning curve. We it's like it's so weird to explain. So we started dating when we were both like he was in his masculine and also so was I. And then we had some
Hmm.
like role shifting where he was kind of like, no, I, let's not. And then I had to like figure out how to, and there was a lot of pushback from me too, where I was like, no, this like, I'm supposed to take care of that. I need that control back. Don't you know?
Ah,
Like,
okay.
I gotta, my reins are slipping and I'm
Yeah.
trying to like pull and hold on. And, that was the first like struggle. And then our healing, my healing, where I was having panic attacks and in deep depression and like really battling like my whole entire life and trauma and
Wow.
story and actively rewriting like every
Mm,
thought that I believed about myself that was false
mm,
and doing all of that. Even though that was so rocky, like it definitely tests your marriage and tests your relationship and strength. And one thing that I can say, like, die hard, is we never have ever, even like how bad it's ever gotten, we've never been like, let's give up. I think this is
right.
it.
Yeah.
We've, I don't know what it is about us, but we're both like to the bone fighters. Like, we
Committed.
never give up. So that made us stronger, like, actively willing to deal with our shit
Mm,
together.
hmm.
Um, we kind of just embrace the struggle. Anything that comes
Mm.
up, and I realize it sounds like we just fight all the time, and
No.
we like it's we have a beautiful relationship where I'm just kind of highlighting on like
Yes,
how
I get that.
extensive it was, but we
I think
really
that's
do.
important. I think that's important though to hear because the what I'm taking away from that is the value of commitment. Because without the commitment, there isn't the creation of a safe space in order to go through everything that needs to be experienced in order to come out the other side. If you're
Yes.
in a constant fear state or in a flight state of, well, I'm probably just going to leave, then how do you really surrender into all of that for both of you, for him too?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Mm. It feels like maybe that's partly. It's a complex um, issue of everything that's going on right now, but that's part of the challenge that maybe modern day daters are finding is it's so
Mm.
easy to move on. This swipe culture of something better is around the corner
Yes.
illusion that
Yes.
it's possible for people to miss out on the depth of intimacy. For us it's about intimacy that's available in front of you.
Yes. I agree. I I'm sure you see this a lot too, but I experience this a lot with what I do in my practice, but there's a lot of women out there, and I'm sure men, I just don't coach men, but
Mm.
they fall in love or are attracted to the idea of someone,
Hmm.
but that's based on like no reality. And so
Sure.
I think it's really easy to do that with the things that we have with social media and Tinder
Hmm.
and all these things. And like they can be great tools if we use them in the right way. But it's so easy to kind of slip into like falling for this illusion of
Hmm.
someone instead of like what you're actually getting. Like, I want to
Sure.
see the ingredient list. Like, what am I
Yes.
actually getting?
I get that. And that you know, in tantric teachings, there's this idea of everyone uses it, the ego and this construct that we've created. But in modern times, there's this, you know, a level above that, which is the digital ego that we create, and how everyone can become so infatuated and consumed by that that don't get the opportunity to go through all of the layers to get to the ingredients.
Yes.
Okay, and I love what you were speaking about earlier of the challenging road that you and your husband went on, and how you were playing. These conversations are called dance of polarity, and because that's exactly how I feel it is. It's
Yeah.
you're in your masculine, and then you're in your feminine, and you're switching between the two, and you're figuring out who's in what when, and having a conversation around who gets to play what when really invites the depth of intimacy that allows you to go through like what you went through and
Yes.
fortified by it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I have a, obviously you feel very safe with your husband.
Yeah.
What about other men?
Ooh, good. That's good. It depends, to be honest.
Mm,
And I still haven't found out if this is because of just my trauma. It's still there. I'll always have scars from that. Um, it's not all men. I would say before it used to be all men. Didn't matter. Don't care who you are. I don't want you around me. I don't want you in my space. Don't
mm,
sneak up on me in the grocery store line. Like I'm gonna be figuring out how to get away from you.
sure. Hey.
Now, because I have kind of really started to play into this feminine, magnetic being
Mm,
energy,
mm,
my energy is completely different. And what I have found is I no longer attract the attention from men that I would be scared of.
yeah,
They're not, I would, for example,
they leave you be because
they leave me be. Yeah.
they
And
know.
energy that I do receive is very, it's not like it doesn't seem like there's an intention. It's almost like an admiration or
Mm,
like swooning where they just see a beautiful woman and they want to slightly look at her, smile, and carry on with their day. It's
mm,
not like something that I'm fearful of. Doors are opened more for me. Um, all kinds of things. Like men want to help and like respect instead of be uh there's a certain energy that I can feel when the intention is genuine and when
mm,
it's something that I should be concerned about. And
mm,
I really haven't experienced a situation where I would have been like, this is bad vibes. Like I need something is not right. I need to remove myself from this man. Um,
mm,
it's
mm,
completely changed. If it did come up though, I would still feel it and want to be away from whatever was going
mm.
on.
But you feel empowered now to be able to do that in an effective way, the way
Yeah.
perhaps past you wouldn't have.
Yeah. It has. So, for example, once I went to the park on my on a lunch break and I was reading in the sun and I had this was after healing. So I had this man come up to me, completely like blindsided me. I was just reading, I had some headphones in, I wasn't paying attention, and I looked up and there's this man like staring down at me. And so I took my headphone out and I just kind of looked and he asked me if I was meditating and I said no. And the second I knew that he was there, I something was not right. Like he
Ah,
wasn't giving me the right energy. And so I said no, and he asked to sit with me. And
mm,
I got up, I took both headphones out, and I said, get away from me. No, you're not, I don't want to talk to you. Old me would never do that. I would have been so freaked out. like looking for my keys, trying to run to my car, trying to get away from him, like full panic.
Mm.
But I had the authority to like look him in the eye and say, no, you're making me uncomfortable. I don't want you around me. And I would have never done that before. So even when it does
Mm.
happen, I don't feel bad for hurting feelings if you're making me uncomfortable and I don't believe that your intention is true. And I will stand on my intuition with that. Uh, if you were trying to have a friendly conversation with me, I would know that
Mm.
that was pure, but the energy from him was not pure. And I'm willing to stand up for that and not cower away.
Mm. Okay.
And I think that's the difference, other than me being admired in public.
Yeah.
I really don't, it doesn't happen anymore.
That's so, thank you for sharing that. It brought up a lot for me, uh, that that anecdote that you just shared, because how was that received by him?
Uh, he actually did what he was told. Like, he just kind of went, okay, and carried
Did he
on.
apologize at all?
He did not.
Hmm. It's yeah, it brings up for me. I think I was writing. I can't remember if I was gonna. What do we call posting on threads? Threading? I don't know.
Threading? I
Uh,
don't know either.
I was I was gonna say tweeting, but that's just wrong. I was writing a post about how I've had instances where women have perceived me as unsafe or a threat without knowing me, and simply just because I'm a man, and the impact that that has on me. And I'm starting to find that a little online with threads where I know the purity of the intention that I'm trying to bring to this project and the conversations that I'm trying to have. And maybe there's a way for me to refine how I'm sharing it online. But when I meet or come across women who push back against the desire for me to be curious and understand their point of view because they don't feel like they should have to teach men this, it it hurts because
Mm,
I don't know how to not be perceived as a threat when trying to do something. Um,
that brought up something for me, and I will only speak for myself because I'm not sure if this was is true for all women, but I could see how it could be, is no matter if it is simply friendly, or from a place of love, I feel like no matter what, until I'm shown different, I always
mm,
feel like I'm being pursued. Like,
you're not the only woman who said that in these conversations.
yeah, until I like see like, oh, okay, this is safe. Like he's
Mm,
not trying to do anything. He's very articulate. Like obviously it's fine.
mm,
Until I'm shown otherwise, automatically, maybe it's conditioning, I'm not sure, but I always feel like, oh, I'm being pursued. Like he's trying to relate with me to get in with,
yeah,
yeah.
I get that. It's a conversation I've had previously with someone, and we were talking into whether it's a conditional thing or it's just a primal thing. Whether
Yeah.
it's just inherently there, being a woman, appreciating the nature of sexual dynamic, and and that just being present.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I found it interesting too. Um, so then I guess what is it that I or we as men can do to support in that?
I don't know because I feel like no matter what, like the first comment or the first like hello in the grocery store, whatever the situation is, I feel like no matter what, my brain would be like, all right,
Mm, where is this
what's
going?
going on?
What's going on
Until,
here?
yeah, until I'm given a little bit more to be like,
Right.
oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
good. We're good.
Yeah. Because I can feel it. Even in partnership, I'm very uh I like to connect, especially with women. I like the flirtatiousness of it. Um, And I can sometimes sense the dis-ease that it can create with women because I am outgoing and I am playful, and there's this perhaps uncertainty and unsafety of what is this man trying to get from me.
Yes, yeah, I feel that. But do you feel like also women can do that and get away with it? Because I feel
Oh,
like I can be as playful as I want and nobody cares.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
I hadn't considered that fully, but I would say that's quite possibly true. Um, yeah. And then there's, I think part of the piece is communication and boundaries, right? So the work that we do, and we host temples. I don't know if you come across that kind of thing before, but it's a
I think I
sensual
know what
or
you're talking
sexual,
about. Yeah.
like a sensual or sexual play space for people.
Yeah.
Um, and being able to articulate the boundaries of the exchange that you're having. So my partner, she dances and she's a dancer and she likes to contact dance, and we have very firm boundaries. You know, we're monogamous and we know that line. And when we dance with people who don't know that that's our line, it can be confusing for them
Mm,
if you don't have an explicit conversation or they don't know you because they don't know where the boundary between sensuality and sexuality is.
mm. Do you feel like, because it's so hard to perceive on the internet where a lot of these connections are happening,
Mm,
and that reminds me of like leaky sexual energy, which is
mm,
usually what we're feeling in public
mhm,
when like a man
mhm.
is deemed creepy to us and we're like, I want to, what's going on? It's usually like that energy is kind of like
Yeah.
seeping onto us where
What if I just want to be playful and flirtatious?
if yeah, that's what if you meet like a man that is just like super kind and like very like thinks you're adorable, like it's the energy is completely different. Like it's like, oh, okay. Like it's completely different. And I think maybe that's hard
Mm.
to perceive online, which is why at like first time a woman's
Mm.
like, what's going on here?
Shields up.
Yeah, because we can't
Can't
obviously
tell.
like depending on what is said, like it's either
Mm.
like we already know or we're kind of confused. But context is really hard on the internet. And so I'm wondering if like it's just because we can't feel the energy, like what's going on.
Sure. I think it's also hard, and that's very, very true. And it's even more so. And I find it also to a degree in person as well, um, because the explicitness of conversation or a conversation hasn't been had where someone
Mm,
does know what the boundaries are between you. Like my partner, and she had a dance partner where we were living, and they both knew that it was never ever going to move into a sexual space, whether she was
mhm,
single or in partnership. And it allowed them to really have these amazing, flirtatious, sensual, fantastic dances together because they knew where the line was. And he respected
mm,
that, and she enforced that and was
mm,
always in integrity to that. However, when perhaps I'm meeting someone new, the flirtatiousness without them knowing where the hard boundary is, there's a cautiousness that comes with it.
yeah.
I feel like it's really hard to do without having like a very explicit conversation. It's like, hey, I think you're a very attractive woman, and I am not interested in having any sort of sexual connection with you, but I would love to continue, getting as close to the line and being flirtatious and just enjoying your essence in a way that you feel
Mm,
safe.
yeah. I feel like I don't know. I feel like for myself, I need I like to lead without words.
Mhm.
Like, but I think that's acceptable for a woman. Like, I
Oh,
don't know. When
oh.
you meet someone, or for myself, when I'm in public, I'm not pursuable. I give off that energy 100%. Like, I'm just not pursuable. And I just don't feel like there's anything that would need to be said from me
Yes.
from a man to know that. And I think that like and I feel like usually that's how it is with women in public. They kind of give this unless they are pursuable, and then it is kind of open. I'm going more off like what my intuition and like
Mm.
when I'm in public, like what I feel from people. Like if I'm thinking about like men in public, I know who's pursuable and who's not. I feel like the women kind of give off that same energy.
Mm. I There's a part of me that wanted to say it's women hold the power.
You know, yeah, kind of.
Wait. I think it's the difference between, women have something to give, whereas men have something to not, I don't want to use the word get, but I don't know. I haven't quite,
Receive.
yeah, there is, it feels like for me at least, there is a disparity and a difference between the two. And,
Yeah, I feel that also.
mm, okay. Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm going to need to think more in how I can create or encourage being perceived as safe.
And sometimes, like, I don't know, I can't put a finger on like when I'm okay with it and when I'm not.
Mm,
Like, for example, I was driving home one day and there was this guy in a loud car, like an older hot rod American car. And I was not paying attention, I had my girl music on, I was doing my thing. And I look and I like the way cars sound, and I used to be really into motorcycles and stuff, so I like things like that. So I'm kind of looking at his car, and I look and I see him in the mirror, like looking back at me, and I was like, oh, like has this been going on the whole time and I didn't know? And so I'm like kind of laughing, like, oh, I love being a girl. And so then like I'm following him and he keeps like revving his car, and like he clearly wanted like me to acknowledge that he had a cool car. And so like I'm like laughing and I like see him in the mirror and he's laughing back, and we just had this whole like exchange that I like was happy about, and I came home and I was like, I just love being an attractive girl. Like that was so unnecessary, but like yet it happened because I was just driving home and I'm a cute girl that he wanted to like ruffle his feathers for. And like, it was like I would never talk to him, I would never like pursue him, and like I actually came home and told my husband how funny it was, and like we both
Yeah.
laughed about it. But like things like that, like I like being admired and
Mm,
like being a woman that like
sure.
some dude is trying to ruffle his feathers for. Like,
Mm,
I don't know. Like things like that. Like, I don't know. It's fine.
to the point where it feels like a safe exchange.
Like it was just like an innocent, like, look at my car. Yeah, I see you. And then it was
Yeah.
over. Like things like that. Like it's more, I do like being admired, but it's to the, like, I feel like my line is like, I see the gazes. Thank you for opening the door for me. Thank you for being a polite man. Like one time I was outside and I dropped a bunch of boxes trying to put them in my car, and this guy like ran out of the business across the street and was like, "Miss, like let me help you." Like stuff like that is attractive to
Mm.
me. But I don't want any further conversation. Like, "Oh, where are
There's a
you from? Like where are you from? What do you do?" I'm like, "Thank
mm,
you. I don't care."
yeah. Even if it's platonic, even if they're just looking
I
for
would
a friend.
say so. Yeah, I would say so for myself. I
Mm,
feel like digitally, because of my profession, I'm 100% willing to engage in like friendship with men or like allies. Like I'll support your business. I know you're supporting mine. Like I
mm,
like things like that, but in person, I feel like if someone came up to me and I was at the grocery store and some man was trying to be friends with me, I would probably dismiss him just because I'm just not looking for that. I'm happy with the man that I'm with, and I don't really need any male friends. I like my girl group. I'm a homebody. I'm at home a lot. I enjoy my life, and I really don't feel like I need male friendship.
Okay. That's super interesting. And like it's I think a useful thing to know about someone because then it empowers both of you to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
Without that knowledge, there's the potential for misunderstanding. Um, and I get what you were saying earlier with there's a difference between being admired and pursued.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder, I'm aware of time, whether men feel like they're allowed to admire women.
Mm, that's a great question. I feel like they do anyway.
Now, I noticed this within myself. I think I posted something about it a week ago where I said, if I find someone aesthetically pleasing, I'd like to look at them, whether they're a man or a woman. And I recognize
Yes.
how I feel so much more uncomfortable if I want to
Oh.
look at a woman than I do a man because of this
Oh.
perception of being perceived or this idea of being perceived as a threat or causing them to feel unsafe in any way and then feeling that within myself and then I have to process that.
That's really good. I can't relate. I feel like as a woman,
You're allowed to look at
I
everyone.
don't experience that. Yeah, but I can totally understand that feeling. Yeah.
We hosted a dating mixer on Friday. We have a modality we call contact intimacy. It's a dancing based modality that we've created. And there was a moment where we invite the pairs, the men and women, to dance for one another and be witnessed. And watching the guys witness the women dancing for them and then be allowed to actually
Mm.
appreciate it and enjoy it and it feels safe to do that and for the women to have um, given their permission. It was amazing to watch how lit up the guys were and
Yes.
enamored at being have offered the opportunity and the permission to actually enjoy and appreciate the feminine. And
Yes. I love that. That's a great question. One that I'm gonna have to think of myself is, are men allowed to admire women? I don't know. I feel like
I think
in
there's a
some
social
cases,
stigma.
yes. Yeah.
I think there's a big social stigma, and there's been a conflation where when men have looked and admired women, there's been a sexual component to it. You know, there's the it's
Oh.
calendars or magazines or
Mm.
pornography. There's not the well, where is it safe? Like even fashion shows, there's a sexual subtext to it.
I feel like I am experiencing for the first time in my life this past couple of months what it means to be admired as a woman without the sexual intention. I
Mm.
have had a lot of men, older men, just, and I can understand like where they're at, where I see the gaze or the smile or whatever, where they're showing the admiration, and I can tell that it's just, that's a beautiful woman right there.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
there's nothing else. And I have experienced when there is a
Mm.
sexual intention, and I feel like I enjoy it more when it is done in a classy way of, wow, that's a stunning woman. Like
Mm,
she's magnetic or whatever the case may be, whatever they're thinking.
yeah.
I feel like on fire when that happens. Like,
Mm.
ooh, I'm doing it today. Like, thank God I put my lipstick on.
Yeah.
Like you feel like I already feel like I can conquer the world, but like when I'm just admired for being a person picking out carrots at the grocery store that's attractive, I feel like I can do anything. So
Mm,
maybe in the way that it's done, I don't know.
yeah. I get that. I think maybe it's a control of sexual energy, at least on the guy's part. There's and maybe it's not something that we've been encouraged or educated or invited to explore and understand and master at being able um to appreciate the really it's the sensuality of the feminine, even if there's a sexual component, without it being over sexualized.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
I think that I think from my own experience that can be a challenging thing to
Yes, yeah. I can see that. Yeah, because it's just like a human nature type of
right.
thing. And you're trying to like tame the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to, we're sexual beings and sexuality is part of who I am. And it's unfair to suppress that part of myself. And there's the attractiveness of someone who's been able to master that part of themselves.
Yes. Yeah. 100. I'm right there with you.
Okay. Amazing. Oh, I feel like we touched on a lot. I'm aware of time and I don't want to over monopolize you. So, um, before we part ways, I'd love to invite whether you have a one word or a one sentence takeaway from our conversation.
I would just say openness. Because there's these conversations are hard to have, especially with the opposite sex. And uh to do it in a fluid, understanding, open, empathetic, safe environment is also extremely difficult to have. And so I just appreciate that you are having conversations with not only myself but other women and um, these concepts that we're talking about and touching on, at least in my space, like they aren't well grasped or understood, and most people
Yeah.
just don't really know about them.
Mm,
And so the more, like you were saying earlier, the more that we have open conversations like this and share our stories and share our craft and our passions and how we feel about things and just genuinely say what we feel instead of like shadowing ourselves, like
mm,
the more that people are allowed to resonate with us and what we're doing and what we're experiencing and allow themselves to also have their experiences and choose to grow and learn, and wisdom share is everything. So I would just say openness.
openness, openness to explore oneself and another. I like that.
Yes.
Each other. Thank you.
Yeah,
Would you care to just share in 30 seconds or so about yourself? Anything you want
sure.
people to
Yeah. Well, my name is Kylie. I
know?
am the owner of Cosmic Cowgirl Wellness and the Cosmic Academy. I also have a podcast called Holy Cowgirl. You're welcome to come on if you ever want to.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a trauma and relationship coach. I deal a lot about energetics with the womb, sexual trauma, generational trauma, mastering the feminine, and helping you integrate that into your relationships to become this amazing, magnetic uh, woman that you are.
Mm, thank you. I feel
Yeah.
that. Um, what a good ally to have. I'm so glad that we've been able to connect.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, really appreciate you. Appreciate you with your trust in joining me in this conversation, someone that you don't really know, and then your openness, like you were saying, with sharing everything that you have, because it's definitely got cogs turning in my mind
Oh,
Uh,
good. Me as well.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank
I
you for having me.